Hello and welcome to the Humble Health Conference recording. So this is our rehearsal so that we get to practice and bring out our best. And also for anyone who wanted to revisit the conference, they can listen to this. And also for anyone who for some reason couldn't attend, you're most welcome to join us on the journey. So if you just take a deep breath in, relax and recenter, and we shall begin. So next part is titled Courageously Humble. So you ready for this? I'm going to ask you a bold question. Have you ever made an error? Now here's Homo sapiens, a wise man. And according to studies looking at human factors, we make an error approximately 6 times an hour. 6 times an hour. Goodness gracious. So how does it feel when we are wrong? Can I ask you, how does it feel when you're wrong? How does it feel when you're wrong? Horrible. Horrible. I mean, certainly that's the common experience, isn't it? And when I have asked people, I hear words like regret, confused, embarrassment, trouble, guilt, failure, yuck, fault. And I wonder if you might experience some of those things. It's unsurprising because we're actually hardwired in some way to have difficult feelings when something doesn't go according to plan. It's called reward prediction error. However, I'm going to put it to you that you might actually be wrong about that it might actually feel perfectly normal. And I'm going to give you an example. Once upon a time, I had this crazy idea of taking my family camping. They were a young tribe. I was a bit tired, so I set up the sat nav and off we drove to an eco cottage my friend was building in Wales. Now, I have reading difficulties, and so I was struggling with the multiple consonants and the English and Welsh on the boards, and we got tremendously lost. But thankfully, my wonderful wife said, "Love, let's take a break." And so we pulled over in a nice picnic spot and had some space. A little bit of space for rest and grace. Set up the tent and took in the view. And I was struck that it wasn't just the destination that was important, it was also the journey that mattered, and how lucky I was to spend this time with my family. As well as that, in that space, I suddenly realized I'd just put in the wrong postcode. And my feeling wasn't disaster, it was, yay, now I knew. I'd actually been wrong for the 2.5 hours, the whole journey before. And it was only when I had this insight was I less wrong than I was before. So I, in that moment, evolved from Homo sapiens into Homo humanis, hopefully a slightly more humble human who responds to difficult challenges with a little bit of a smile. And so I researched this a little bit further and discovered that being humble can have its benefits. It honors our mistakes and helps transform them. So a mistake, which previously was an unwanted event, could be helpful, an opportunity to learn. From failure to feeling enabled, and the sense of succeeding, from a sense of regret to one of aspiration, from shame to forgiveness, from knowledge to science, which I now define as the art of making better mistakes, and a sense of art, the beauty we make in choosing something and making it beautiful. And with that in mind, I'm going to ask you, what does humble mean to you? What does humble mean to you?
Not being a show-off.
Not being a show-off. And that actually matches beautifully with the Oxford Dictionary definition, which is not being a show-off. It actually, the etymology comes from the Greek to be grounded. Now, often when I ask people what it means to be humble, they kind of say it might feel small or overlooked, which interestingly can be quite advantageous. It also means you're open and willing to learn, and that's what the humble pioneers have shared. It can mean you appreciate the subtle and the nuanced, as well as making space for the simple and profound. And so I'm hoping we're going to explore what it means together today. But I'm going to share some insights about humility and performance. So there's an interesting paper that looks quite deeply at how humility can improve our performance by managing bias correction, challenging give us anticipation of our challenges, boost our tenacity, our collaboration, and that reward prediction error. But this is all a bit like geeky. I'm wondering, do you have a goal in mind, something you'd like to have perform really well at? I know I'd like to get fitter. I'm recovering from appendicitis and I'd like to be as fit as I can again. And it's taking its time, so I'd love to improve that. Do you have anything you might like to improve?
Probably. I think put me on the spot.
Oh my God.
I'll probably not eating so much chocolate.
Okay, so sure. Like, and I think everyone's got something, you know, whether it's change their body composition, you know, and it's natural to have these aspirations. It's what makes us fun human beings. Now, the next question I'm going to put to you is, could you think about what goal you've got in mind? And then ask yourself, what percentage of resolutions do you think are normally kept? Would you keep for more than a year? What percentage? Now, I've asked Sarah this a few times, so she already knows the answer. But what percentage do you know?
I would say it's very low.
Yeah, it is very low. So 100% of people who set out to keep a resolution, change their chocolate consumption, maybe do a run every now and again, you know, only 5% of people at the end of the year are still keeping it. Now, when I first discovered this, it was about 15 years ago. For the preceding 10 years, I've been talking about sleep and how to help people sleep better and improve their health and well-being. It suddenly struck me that 95% of people would regret the day they'd met me. Because one, they'd think that was a waste of a time a year later, but also they wouldn't believe in themselves anymore. They'd learn helplessness. So I did my best to research and try and find ways of working with what we've got, our natural physiology, and being humble around it, and came upon this. So of 100% of people that we trained in our wellbeing groups, 98% were still doing it. 2% said, you're too crazy, which is fair enough. But by keeping it really simple, at the end of the year, we found that 70% of people were still doing what they set out to do. Not only that I've observed them, and I can see them in the village where I'm a GP, that they're keep improving. They believe in themselves and they keep on improving. So if you can work with 70% and you're willing to transform in some way, this is for you. So I'll let that sink in and ask you what stood out to you, just to notice in your mind. Perhaps it was that we do make mistakes and we do make errors. That being humble can help us transform, that it boosts our performance, and it means we can actually build belief in ourselves. I'm wondering if I might be able to help with a few bits of support. And what I'm going to share with you is going to seem so ludicrously simple that you might think, how on earth is it going to help? But if there's just one thing I might invite you to practice, it's to pause and breathe in and out of your nose, just like we did at the start. It only takes 30 seconds and it's really simple. And you can do it with me now. We'll just do one breath. It's just to pause and then breathe in deeply. In, 2, 3, and pause. And then out. Slowly and pause. And if you fancy doing it a few more times, you're most welcome. But if we just do that deliberately and consciously, it releases a brain chemical called gamma and also adapts us to some of the challenges that modern society puts on our system to feel stressed. We suddenly have a bit of space for doing something amazing. I'm going to get a bit geeky, and I've got 25 minutes to get you into the geek. You ready? Here we go. So first bit is going to be a challenge. So please could you raise one hand in the air? Now, please could you point at which of these you might like to drink? Excellent. And then put your hand down. Now, interestingly, brain scanners can see your decisions 7 seconds before you made them. So 7 seconds before you became consciously aware that was in there, even preceding me asking the question, potentially your decision was predictable. So this is quite a surprise to hear that by the time your consciousness kicks in, and even before I presented the question, most of the work has been done already. We're very highly conditioned. And this is because we're mostly unconscious. We have our frontal cortex where most of our things come on. But beneath that, we've got multiple brains that synchronize and harmonize to create our mind. So we've got gut intelligence, we've got muscular intelligence, we've got our phone intelligence, our space intelligence, lots of different intelligences that are contributing to us. And so we have an input of about 11 billion bits per second that can get filtered through our feelings at 60 bits per second. And then by the time it's got to our conscious mind, it's only 4 bits of information per second we can hold. But we're only holding one at a time and we're juggling them. So you may have noticed I present things in 4s to allow you to juggle those things and nothing more. And this is hardwired from when we're babies. We're designed, for example, to unconsciously put stuff in our mouths. And then our environments go, wow, yummy, I'll have some more of that. But this isn't just when we're little. This actually happens, you know, when we're working and we're consulting or communicating. And also when we vote. So your voting choices are actually potentially predictable unless you can build a space between stimulus and response. And this is where that pause and breathe comes in. So I presented you with 3 choices. But if you can pause and breathe, you can create a little space between stimulus and response, releasing GABA and nitric oxide. And suddenly you can see a bit more clearly that maybe if you have that caffeinated drink, you might be awake that night. Or that sugary drink is attached to a carnivorous organism that may be trying to feed on you. Or maybe that water may be the simplest option. Not so fancy, but it allows you a bit of space. Now, Helen McCarthy is going to go into greater detail about how you can do that with a healthy habits talk. So easy does it. Simply pause and breathing through your nose creates a space between stimulus and response. And humility can help in lots of other ways too. It can help you live, forgive, learn and grow, boost your mental health, physical health and learning. And it's not about forgetting. Forgiveness is not about forgetting. It's about more than just simply moving on. It's about honoring, accepting, and finding deeper meaning. So when we do our healthy care exploration, there might be some difficult feelings. I'm wondering if humility might help. And it's not new. We don't need to shoot the dog. We can be divinely forgiving. And actually, Einstein even said it has a place. And I try to apply it in my practice so I can make mistakes, dip and learn and boost my performance. So I now am courageous in asking, not just in my head, but outside, is there anything else? Could I have missed something? Or is there something else I need to think about? Or could I learn something from you? And overwhelmingly, rather than getting a tirade, I actually get a thanks for checking. And if I get lots of stuff coming out, I then need to look after myself and go, okay, great, I can't cover everything. What should we focus on with our time? And with that in mind, I've learned a lot about lifestyle medicine, how it improves our disease. I've learned to improve my performance, how we can inspire ourselves, and how I can be kind to myself and minimize burnout. So this can help us empower. And I'm just going to pause here because it's 12 o'clock. And we think that's it. 12 o'clock. And it's this meeting, which is great. Fabulous. So I was just checking in with myself and my friend. And so humility can help us feel empowered. And you've probably heard, and I've said, that exercise is, you know, one factor that can make a massive difference to our health. You've probably heard, is exercise good? Is exercise good? Yeah. Well, there's strong evidence that, for example, if you get a mouse and you give it a treadmill in its cage, if it can exercise, it does really well if it's free to run. But however, if you get its twin brother and force it to run on an electric treadmill, when so it's forced to run the same amount that its twin brother does, it does really badly. Its markers of cancer, inflammation, strokes, heart attacks all increase. So forcing ourselves to do what's supposedly good to us is not as good as you think. Now, this was done in humans, doctors and in cleaners, where they said exercise is good. And unfortunately, they didn't do so well because they heard I'm not doing enough. By comparison to the same cleaners who were told, well done, every step counts. So they were doing the same number of steps when it was reported, but those cleaners, their waist circumference improved, their metabolism, their mental health improved. So how you frame things with humility and reality has a profound impact. Now, this is just not exercise. This goes on to milkshakes, so mind over milkshakes, it goes to sleep and managing stress. So the big take home for us is each of us is unique. So humility can help us tailor our care, and so that every step counts for us. And this is where Katie's going to talk to you all about exercising, and she's going to show you how you can empower yourself and revive in 5 in the Move and Soothe talk. And we apply these principles in something we call humble guiding, where we're guiding each other on a journey together. And guiding is slightly different and it complements our other practices where we're prescribing or we're coaching, because we're not on the sidelines and we're not telling someone what to do from above, but rather we're on the journey with them. So they bring out the best in us too, and they have to step up to be able to do that. And it helps us develop a map of meaning, of acceptance, mastery, agency, and purpose, which the strong evidence shows wherever you begin, it's a foundation of improving. And so please don't believe us, have a go. And this is where I'm hoping you can bring hope. Sometimes when we look at the planet Earth, we can feel a bit desolate and a bit lost. To quote Eckhart Tolle, he said, "I'm not sure we need more knowledge, and I'm not sure more information is going to help, or faster computers, or more intellectual analysis. Perhaps it's humility that humanity most needs." And to quote JFK, he said, "We may be making some errors, but it doesn't become a problem unless we're too arrogant to accept it." So could we look realistically at where we are? And perhaps we voyage together, not because it's easy. We've got some challenges ahead, but because it brings out our best when we try. And this is where I'm wondering if we're perfectly mistaken. It's actually necessary. If you actually look out of your eyes, the world looks complete. But actually, when you look at what our retinas can see, there are gaps. For example, our blind spot, and there's lots of blurring, but our brains are continually projecting and creating our reality. So we can co-create the reality we want to see. Not only that, natural selection favors us making mistakes. And so we actually create mistakes, and so that it helps our fitness. And to quote Ian McIlgris, an error correction may be more effective than getting it right in the first place. So this is where humility helps. On the big stuff as well. And it starts with something so small, it takes 30 seconds, pausing and breathing. But please don't believe me, give it a go in real life. And maybe even do it when you brush your teeth, because you're breathing through your nose anyway. And this is where we make it really easy. And I'm hoping you might take the sticker off your shirt with your name on it. And when you get home, stick it on your toothpaste. This is because I've told you pausing and breathing helps. You may have a plan to do it for a year, but we know we go from 5% to 70% if you can stick it on your toothpaste, because everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Quote Mike Tyson. So let's practice before the performance. And this is a publication I put in the with the help of the BHMA, so you can read some more of the geeky science if you want. So just to summarize, I'm hoping you might join us in this humble journey, maybe practice pausing and breathing. And with that, I'm hoping if you've got any questions, you can share them with me. These are some of the things that stood out to me. And if there was just one thing, it's that you might try pausing and breathing. And we can discover what meaning being courageously humble might mean together. That's the end of my talk, and thank you.